seen from the offense that's been lacking here? What was the focus of practice to kind of generate some scoring?
Yeah, getting to the net, being stronger in front of the net, getting in the goalie's eyes. We're getting a lot of shots, but a lot of them are from the point and no one's in front. No one's going through the goalie's eyes. It's pretty hard to score in this league if we don't do that. So I think that was an emphasis on today, playing in front of the net on both ends of the ice. I think we got to do a better job of keeping them out of our goalie's eyes, and we got to do a better job of going in theirs.
It's always good when things aren't going well offensively to kind of change things up a little bit. So they kind of stack the top line there with 3 guys. What is that like playing with those 2 guys?
Yeah, I mean, 2 great players, obviously. Fun to play with them. They have a lot of speed. Obviously can, make a lot of plays, and hopefully we can have the puck a lot during the game. So, I think those 2 guys are good defensively, and that's why we can create, chances off their turnovers and go down and, play with the puck where we're more comfortable. So, those 2 guys are fun to play with, and I'm excited for it.
Does it change your game much?
No, I try to stick to the same stuff. I think with them we can all, rotate on who's getting on pucks, and all of us try to jump on pucks quick and create turnovers in the O-zone. So I think that's kind of how we feed off each other with us 3 and create offense that way. So if we can just play a simple game and get it in their end and then work to get pucks back, I think we'll be fine.
How can those board that? How big of an emphasis is Todd McLellan stronger on the puck?
Yeah, I think it's a big part of the game. We need to just, be a more physical and harder team to play against. We're giving up too much too easily, so we got to win our 50-50s in the O-zone and D-zone, and really all over the ice. So I think just getting back to that work ethic and playing simple is going to be what's best for us.
Yeah, when a team goes through some of these spells, how do you guys mentally stay above and not over focus on the little things that maybe aren't going your way?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's reverting back to that work ethic and just playing hockey. I think we're all confident here. We know what we can do, and we've shown that at different times in the year so far. So obviously a little dip right here, but hopefully get back on track next game.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Overall, I think we're pretty confident in our power play. I think, especially with what we've done in the past. So get that thing going again. I think that helps kind of the 5-on-5 game too. You get some momentum off the power play, some touches, some good shots. Maybe you see one go in the net, and all of a sudden you have, a little bit of a good feeling.
You mentioned the confidence you have in power play. I know you don't want to take it for granted, but the same 5 guys that were good on it last year.
Yeah.
I mean, is that what gives you confidence knowing that you've done it before and you have that chemistry? You don't really lose that chemistry.
No. I mean, could it be better? Yeah, for sure. I also look at the past couple of games and say, we could have had, a couple goals here or there. There were some chances. I mean, it wasn't great by any means, especially with, how many times we're having to break the puck out and enter the zone. It seemed to be a lot of one and done. Maybe a couple times we caught the puck up on the wall and they send it down again. So that's where it gets frustrating, right? But, as a group, I still think we feel very confident in what we can do, and try not to lose confidence in the power play because it is such a crucial part of the game.
Todd obviously kind of shook the lines up at the end of that last game. I'm just curious, for you as a player, obviously there's some kind of wake-up call element to that versus the chemistry, and kind of what's the balance there of guys you played with versus
Yeah, I mean, for me, it doesn't really change much. I'm going to continue to play my game. Maybe without Cat on that side, you look for your shot a little bit more maybe, or try to get to the net a little bit more. But other than that, still kind of be who you are as a player, and I think that's the same thing for Finney and JT, right? We all want to be the player that we are, and a lot of communication too, I think, is important. Communication on the bench, communication before the game, what we want to see out of each other, different situations. So, obviously I played with JT before, not so much with Finney, but he seems like a pretty, easy guy to play with his speed and the way he can hunt pucks down and create turnovers.
How have you felt since coming back?
Pretty good. I'm pretty happy with how I feel health-wise. Obviously, timing's probably a little bit off. Maybe just getting back into game action after having a few weeks off is something. Just trying to get up to speed a little bit again, but pretty happy with the way I feel health-wise.
Sunday, calling up Danielson would allow you to look at other forwards, maybe make some decisions. Where are you at in that?
Well, I got to make sure I make that clear. That wasn't about my son. Again, my son calls me and he says, "Oh, you guys are trading some players." No, we're not. It doesn't mean we won't or ever will, but that's not the reason why Danny's here. Danny's here because he played real well at training camp. We have some players that are struggling right now, and we thought he could inject a little life and some enthusiasm into the team and maybe provide us with some offense. He's earned the right to do that after training camp. I guess my comment was we could put him in and see how he works with other players, if we can find some combinations and evaluate. But it had nothing to do with Steve buying airline tickets and sending people all over the place. But if I led you on that way, I apologize.
Well, first of all, we're all huge fans of this son of yours, but
Yeah, me too.
the protection drills you had early on with a one-on-one, is that just kind of to instill or kind of ignite some competitiveness?
Well, we don't get a lot of time during the season to practice the way we did today. You just can't, because you have so many games in such a short time frame. They expended a lot of energy today. It was physical. There was a lot of battling. So it gave us a chance, one, to have a practice like that, but two, to also remind them that that's an important part of the game. After reviewing, the last two games, we had some chances to score off the rush, 2-on-1s. That part of our game's okay. It's what happens now when we settle in the offensive zone and feeder shots are going to the net, and are we near the net? Are we through the goalie's eyes? Are we around rebounds? And conversely, at the other end, are we doing a good job? So that was that type of practice was designed because of time and because of a need for the group.
It did look like he moved a couple people, Cat up to the top line. I don't know. What did you just want to see some things, Todd? You want to shake things up?
We did that in the third period the other night, and sometimes lines get a little stale. It's not a reflection on Cat or Emmett or anybody else. It just we're trying different things, and I thought both lines played better after the change in the third period. So are we going to do that when we play Anaheim in a couple days? We'll see. We weren't too concerned about who was on what line today.
Todd, you mentioned the physicality and the battling in the practice. Obviously, it's something you hope that can carry over into the game with the goal of getting more kind of gritty, more on the inside.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. But we're not a small team. It just sometimes we don't play big. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but we have some length. We have guys that are long and tall. We have some girth. And those players have to give us more of that. Now, the smaller players can also do that too. They can roll around, and sometimes they're the toughest to handle in and around the blue paint because they got a low center of gravity. They're quick. They've got to dart in and out, and we're just not seeing enough of it right now.
Following the game, Dylan Larkin said that the team looks to him to score. Obviously, he's a main goal scorer, but then there are players like Elmer Soderblom, Andrew Kopp, JVR, all still are stuck on one goal right now. How big of an emphasis is kind of getting that secondary scoring going? Well,
it's a must. The emphasis is huge. They have to contribute, but when you're not scoring, you sometimes start at the goal and then work backwards. There's a whole bunch of things that has to happen for you to score a goal, and timing, arriving in the right spots. I asked some of them today if, when's the last time you had a tip or a deflection in and around the paint, or had a rebound shot. And some of those players that you mentioned, they're at one goal, and some of them are empty net goals too. We're 20% done the season. So yes, Slarks had some real good opportunities the last two games that didn't score, and it's noble again for him to put that on his shoulders. but we are, as you are aware, that others have to step up and contribute and, figure out a way to get it done.
And then the game's not until Thursday, but is the plan right now to maybe give Gibby another shot at his former team?
I couldn't answer that question right now.
What was the thinking behind putting the Casper, Danielson, and Appleton together? Like, what did you like about that trio?
The Casper move was to get him on the wing. I liked the way he played the other night. I thought he had one of his better games, aggressive, and get him on the wing so that we could maybe get him going in that situation. Danny and Marco had played together, obviously, in Grand Rapids, so there's some familiarity, a sense of comfort, and App's been pretty solid two-way guy, so try and put the pieces together and see what you get.
I guess with the way all three of those guys can skate, I guess what I'm getting at is, like, is there a little bit of like an identity that can form with those?
Well, there can be. In fairness to all of them, that's a brand new line. Danny's coming in, and we're expecting a lot from him and putting a little pressure on him. Casp is squeezing his stick and trying to figure out how he's got to play every night. And then App is still a fairly new player, so identity, I think it can evolve into that. But right now, just the three of them worry about their own games and put it all together.
With Marco, how do you kind of look at his process so far this year? Last year you talked about how he was on the wing, and at some point you have to become a center and everything like that. How do you look at where he has this season, things like that?
So if I understand your question, like from last year to this year, what?
Like it's when you look at his process, right? Like we talked about a bunch of guys squeezing the stick, guys getting tips.
Yep.
When you look at his process,
his path.
His path. Where is he right now on that in your mind?
Well, he's not where he needs to be. I could lie, but you guys would call me a liar right away. Like, he's not where he needs to be. He's got some work to do. Last year the competitiveness and the second attempt, third attempt in around the net, crashing the crease, solid two ways, checking his way into offense. Those were all staples of his. And when you come back as a second-year player, it just doesn't pick up from where it left off. Like, he had a good world championship too, so everything was positive. But you got to start all over again, and that's the great thing about our sport. You aren't guaranteed anything, and as it goes on, and things don't happen for you offensively, now you begin to wonder. You self-doubt, and you might not. Your self-evaluation may be poor, and you have to be reminded. But Marco's a real good kid. He's committed to getting better. We'll continue to help him work through it. And when he does break through, which I think is coming, he'll be back to where he needs to be.
Are you seeing enough from him on the defensive side of the ice, where it's kind of building up from that part?
The defensive,
just in the defensive side. Obviously, when you look at the offensive side.
The defensive side of it. I think it all goes together. It's hard to separate, because if you're good defensively, chances are going to come at the other end. And if you're good offensively, well, you're not playing in your end. So it all goes together.
And then just going into Thursday, you guys were in Anaheim, 2 weeks ago. You guys saw Bedard 2 nights ago. Leo Carlson's been very good for you.
Yeah, he's been fantastic.
And what about his game, when you kind of look at what you saw in person, when you kind of prep for them, about what the steps that player's taken to kind of lead Anaheim this year?
Well, that, from a distance, that would be a good question, obviously, to ask Joel or Woody or somebody there, because, I saw Leo come into the league when I was in LA, and they were, they were cautiously bringing him along. They made sure he was getting stronger, and there were some nights he didn't play. That path isn't always a bad one for a young player. Coming out and watching the game, but getting in the gym and spending a lot of time in there to get stronger, and I think it's paid off. He is stronger. He's powerful. He's grown probably an inch or two since he's been in the league, and now he's confident. So, other than that, what's happened or how has it happened? They'd give you a better answer than I would.
After practice, Kat talked about just the mental side of going through a spell or stretch like this. As a coach, when you look at navigating this mentally, how do you focus on the positives versus balancing out the negatives? Is there a way that you approach that process?
Well, we have to catch them doing it right and wrong. I've said that a million times. So, I could go into the meeting today and I could show them number of 2-on-1s and scoring opportunities that we have. And in those situations, on a 2-on-1 or on an entry, you're likely not having anybody at the net front. You just can't. You'd be offside by 50 feet. So that part of our game is good. So keep it going, show them, talk to them about it, but here's where we can fix it. So there's a balance between good and bad. Yeah, and that's how we get after it.
Todd, did you have a chance to watch Duncan's speech last night? That was a nice shout out to
Duncan Keith, yeah. Well, I think that, well, not think, I know that Trent Yanni has played an important role in obviously Duncan's development, but Brent Seabrook, a lot of those Chicago Blackhawks that won cups and are going to the Hall of Fame now. And then the same can be said while he was in San Jose with us, like Mark-Edward Vlasic and those types of young defensemen had a lot of tutelage from Jan's. Anaheim groups coming in here. So he's been able to help a lot of Edmonton, a lot of defensemen in the league. And I think he can continue to do that and do a real good job with the D that we have here. And it's a good story for Axe. It's a good story for Albert to hear and know that the guy that went into that shrine last night, it meant a lot for Jans to be there, and it meant a lot for him to have spent time with him.